exactly.
Listen, I want to go back to our theme at the start of the programme, disinformation, and introduce you to the ways in which AI can be used in crisis management in real time to avert real-life disasters. Now, back in 2019, NewsWhip worked with the new transitional government in Sudan that replaced President Omar al-Bashir to monitor fake news disseminated by the government's opponents. So here's a really good example of just how dangerous misinformation can be and why the technology that tracks it is so important in defeating it.
Through their online monitoring, Valent saw ongoing attempts by malicious actors to stake tensions between different factions within Sudan and actively monitored them. The intensity of these efforts kept escalating until one day discovered a Facebook post shared across a network of rogue pages suggesting that an armed conflict was about to erupt in the capital city. The post was then followed up by a video that claimed to show violent fighting about to break out. The video, actually an old clip from previous year's conflict in Khartoum, was being used to try and manufacture conflict in the streets. The video was gaining traction based on volume and velocity of engagement and interactions. They could see that the post was predicted to go viral in the hours ahead. This was a genuine risk that could trigger the Sudanese army and other factions into mobilization.
Well, sadly, there was no stopping the civil war breaking out in Sudan, but I hope that gives you some idea of how it works. Amir Khan is the founder and CEO of Valent Projects that uses a new AI software called Aragni, which helped investigations into last year's US bank runs and short selling by alerting what the malign actors were up to. You're welcome to the programme. How do you know that these are bots? How do you identify them?
Well, Christian, we have a list of criteria that we're constantly updating, but there's some when you think about them, there's some quite obvious things such as accounts that post 250 times a day. We've all seen accounts that just have numbers and letters. So we take a view on all of those and give them a rating. And here, actually, I think you can see some of the data we have on a bank run. You can see the bots there, the purple account. What you're seeing there is narrative testing. So those are the different narratives that our tool will show you. Narratives that get responses are kept. Narratives that are not so successful are either tweaked or ditched entirely. Now that second activity there you can see is when those narratives are then deployed.
So when you're seeing all of these patterns with the bots, can you actually see patterns in narrative as well?
Absolutely. So I think people tend to think that narratives are it's just one thing that goes out and it's either true or false. But we use a lot of narrative theory in this, and that's more of a sort of psychological issue. So, for example, in narrative theory, people start with an observable problem and then go on to a solution. So they might say, for example, oh, we all think that the buses run late and it's terrible, and a lot of people might agree, but then they'll get on to blame, and that's where they sort of prime their audience.
Amil, I'm sorry to rush you on this because we've got so little time, but are you basically doing Elon Musk's job for him? Because he got rid of all of his moderators and you're spotting all the bots. Is this what's going on?
I don't think so. We look across a whole bunch of platforms and see all sorts of different types of activity, not just which has
Sorry,
a bot.
I'm going to jump in again. And are there particular nation states that are coming up when you're spotting the bots?
Well, I don't think anybody would be surprised that we see a lot of Chinese activity and Russian activity, but they are by no means the only ones.
Amil, really good to have you on the programme. Thank you for keeping that nice and tight for us. We are out of time. Just like to thank Priya and Samir for being with me, and also Shiloh, who's improving every week. Big steps forward. We'll be back same time next week with AI Decoded. Hope you'll join us for that.